Last month, you announced the establishment of Task Force Kleptocracy, which was described as an interagency effort dedicated to enforcing sanctions, export restrictions, and economic countermeasures against Russia. As I understand, this includes targeting the crimes committed by Russian officials, oligarchs, and others who aid or conceal unlawful conduct. I know that the country is watching very closely what's happening in the war, the unprovoked war of Russia against Ukraine, and that one huge element in that is being able to reduce the amount of funding for that war that Russia has. So can you talk a little bit about where you are in terms of the interagency effort and the kind of cooperation you're getting internationally?
Yes, and I second what you said about what we're all seeing on the news almost every day, the incredibly graphic videos of horrible atrocities that are going on in Ukraine. It's not just the war, it's the way in which the war is being prosecuted by the Russian government. The pictures of dead bodies of civilians in the streets, some bound with their hands behind their backs, the intentional bombing of civilian residential apartment, of a theater in Mariupol. All of those pictures are just horrific and are the kind of things anybody growing up in the 20th century never expected to see in the 21st again, a land war in Europe. So every part of this government is doing its part. The Justice Department's role right now is to investigate and prosecute sanctions violations. So we have, as you said, the Kleptocracy Task Force. Its purpose is to go after the assets that the Treasury Department has sanctioned, as well as to go after assets that have been laundered against the money laundering statutes for criminal behavior by the Russian oligarchs. In addition, we are participating in the Treasury Department's Repo Task Force, which is the international task force where I have met with, unfortunately virtually, the Home Secretaries, Attorneys General, and Treasury Secretaries of the participating countries. The international cooperation has been superb, really superb and heartwarming for law enforcement officers who often have to twist arms and beg for extraditions and other sorts of cooperation abroad. There is no resistance at all now.
Can you talk about how the department is going to be dealing with the proceeds from any recovered assets?
Yes, so the money would go into the asset forfeiture fund. So first thing we have to do is freeze the assets. Second thing is we have to get a forfeiture. Third is it has to go in the asset forfeiture fund. We would support legislation that would allow some of that money to go directly to Ukraine. That's not the current circumstance with respect to the fund. But the current circumstance is like all forfeited assets would go into the asset forfeiture fund.
Well, thank you. We will take that under advisement in the committee. Let me also just editorialize a minute and say I hope that these efforts will allow for future follow-up that will take a look at how corrupt money is being laundered in the West and produce a real effort to shut that down, not just in Russia, but wherever it's occurring. One of the issues that you and I discussed on the phone in advance of this hearing was my concern about how long it's taking to get some of the nominees approved for U.S. Attorney, for marshals, and I understand that there are two problems. One has been the challenge of getting the background checks done on those nominees, and I guess I would be interested in hearing whether there are more resources that need to be put toward that. We need to take a look at that process and see if there are changes that need to be made. And then, of course, the other challenge is here in the Senate with individuals who are holding up those nominees. So can you speak first to what happens when we have U.S. attorneys in New Hampshire, our U.S. attorney nominee? It's been over a year, almost I think, over a year now that she has been forwarded to the White House and is on hold. Can you just speak to the challenge with addressing crime around the country when we have U.S. attorneys who are taking that long to get approved?
Yeah, so the United States attorneys, as well as United States marshals, are the tip of the spear of our effort to fight violent crime. They are the ones who convene the task forces in every one of the 94 U.S. Attorney's Office districts. The task forces are combinations of all of our federal law enforcement, the 4 law enforcement agencies of the Justice Department, as well as the law enforcement agencies of Department of Homeland Security and other federal agencies, combined with state, local, territorial, and tribal law enforcement. These cooperative task forces then also cooperate with the local communities. And that is the way in which the best attack on violent crime is possible, to look at what's needed in the local area, to identify the primary drivers, that is particularly the repeat shooters, to get them off the streets and to get them in jail. And to organize those things, we need confirmed United States attorneys. The work of the actings is excellent, but as everyone knows, in order to establish policies and programs in any office, it's important to have a permanent head. So I couldn't urge more strongly for the Senate to approve as swiftly as possible the U.S. Attorney nominees and the Marshals nominees.
Well, thank you very much. Is it fair to say that the holdup in when people are holding these individuals up for other purposes, that has a negative impact on our ability to fight crime?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the inner workings of the Senate, but what I will say is that anytime we're not getting confirmed law enforcement officers, it does have a negative effect on our ability to fight violent crime, cybercrime, all of the responsibilities that the United States attorneys and the marshals have.
Well, thank you. I won't quote you at that. I will say it myself. Senator Moran.